All right, so we are to the running backs now. Very interesting position each year. One that the position has changed over the years, even though, excuse me, a position that has not changed over the decades, but the conversation around it has changed. And for a minute, and I've talked about the run game, but it's just as far as prospects and players, a lot of people were like, that's going to be over with. And then a lot of people thought we had a swing back because you start having players drafted high again. You see players getting big contracts. And I think we're about to swing back a little bit towards the other way because you look at the guys that have gotten that money, Todd Gurley and his situation. You look at like Ezekiel Elliott got paid and what that really meant for the Cowboys as far as a record and everything. And I think we're going to go back to those days. Like, I personally am a running back by committee advocate. I'd rather get lower round picks that can do different things and put them together, or spend some veteran contracts on somebody rather than putting high capital into a player, because I think some of my fellow Bear fans would understand this now, what I was saying last year. I'd rather put that high capital into my offensive line and rather than a running back, because it takes a great running back to make O-line look better, but a great O-line can make any running back look better. And so that's just me personally. At the end of the day, the position is so dependent on the offensive line. Again, with average to good offensive line, you can make production happen. But with a bad offensive line, no production is going to happen. And so, yes, for me, I think that I would not, in my philosophy, I wouldn't put big capital into a running back. But that's me personally. So, with the position, the better the athlete, the better the player. And that's true for a lot of positions, but I think mostly true for running backs. And looking at this position, I've always measured speed, agility, power. This year, I've added change of direction. And this really, for me, I don't think is an end-all, be-all as far as being a good running back. You think about Derrick Henry, very angular runner, stiff hip. Marlon Mack was a guy I didn't like because he ran that way similarly, and he's able to play. So I don't think that means you can't be a good running back if you're stiff. As far as your change of direction, it just kind of lets me know what type of athlete you are, especially in the receiving game and all that. So that's just me personally, but I added that on this year. And contrary to popular belief, I do like stats. Stats, I think, should add to the conversation. Stats shouldn't be the conversation. So that's the difference with me. But it has not been easy finding college stats, to be honest. You would be surprised how hard it was to find some of these things. And there's not a lot of good advanced stats either. So unfortunately, can't get all the things I want. But for running backs, what I looked at was number of rushing attempts. Because for me, it's about the mileage. Not, some people with quarterbacks talk about games played, experience, blah, blah, blah. For me, it's about the mileage. I don't think you necessarily have to have a lot of game experience to be a good running back in the league. So I just want to know what type of work has been put on you. Then receptions. We talk about the film, which is important, seeing receiving ability, but also seeing how that production works out. Not only your ability, but how the scheme use you. So number of receptions, yards per attempt. And so for me, that's about efficiency. You can have a lot of yards, you can have a lot of attempts, but I want to see how efficient are you with each carry. And then fumbles, in case there's a red flag high number, of course. So those are the stats that I've added to each profile just for some context and kind of looking at that. So I'm gonna look at the top three backs because I think that's where this conversation mostly centers around. And this is just in the order I watched them, not in any particular order. So you got DeAndre Swift first from Georgia. And Swift, for me, I think is an explosive runner. I put him as a downhill balanced runner. I think he's balanced. I think he gives you a good amount in the run game as well as the pass game. I think there's power. There's also some elusiveness. So I think his game isn't just one or the other. But I do think he's best when he's going downhill. I don't think him dancing is best. I don't think him trying to get to the perimeter is best. I don't think him trying to create is best. I really think he is best when he's able to get the ball, make one cut, and go downhill. Once he gets momentum, because I don't think his acceleration is great. It's good acceleration. It's not, super slow. But I do think he has to start gaining downhill momentum before he hits his top speed. And so for that reason, I think, he's best when he hits that clear shot and able to pick up his speed, because then he's really good at making people miss after that, and he's got good power too to go through tackles. But I like his short area quickness and his balance and body control. I think it's very good. He drives for extra yards after contact. I like that too. So I think he's got pretty good balance. And I really like him as a pass blocker. I would say that's in common with all three of these top guys, which you don't usually see. I don't think he's particularly great, but I think he has good technique. I think he knows his assignments and he's not scared to mix it up. So I really like him as a blocker as he continues to get stronger and continues to clean up his technique. I think he'll be an excellent pass blocker. So that's big value added for me. And like I said, really good receiving threat. You see a lot of him in the pass game, but I don't think it's great necessarily. Because some people are like, oh man, he lines up wide and they let him run routes. Yeah, but he didn't get much separation. So it's not like his routes are extra crispy as far as non-running back routes. As a running back, I think he runs the common swing stuff or whatever. He has a lot of receptions. He has 73 receptions over his year, so that's a big number compared to the group. And so obviously he's catching passes, but like any other running back, they're all good after the catch. That's why they're running back. So it doesn't matter a whole bunch about you being a great route runner. That's like when people get crazy about receiving backs. I'm just like, dude, they're just running a simple swing route and getting the ball is no different. It's like an extended handoff. And so I still think he's a great receiving threat, or a very good receiving threat. Nothing off the charts. And then I start talking about this year, each level of the defense, first level, second, third level. I said he's very good on the first level. I think a lot of running backs, they're not going to be great on the first level just because that's where the D-line are. They're the stronger ones. And so really just talking about bursting through that first line, not going down by arm tackles. Most people are going to get caught up by a D-lineman if they're free or if they got an arm free. But some power backs are better than that than others. But I think he's good on the first level. Second level, I think he's excellent. I think he can make linebackers miss. I think he's got power to stiff arm break tackles from linebackers. I think he can run around some linebackers. I think he's very creative once you get him past the D-line. And then above average on the third level, I don't think he has a second gear. I don't think he has breakaway speed. But he definitely can make some safeties and defenders miss, which I like as well. But I put above average. So overall for speed, I gave him a 3.5. And I really measured out the speed this year. Let me see. To a basic extent. This isn't exact science. I would have to go through some more to look at it. But for me, a 3 is average. So a 3, I put 4.6 down to a 4.55. And 3.5 is 4.55 down to basically mid 4.5 to a high 4.4. 4 is a high 4.4 to a mid 4.4. 4.5 speed is mid 4.4 to a mid 4.3. And level 5 speed is mid 4.3 to a anywhere in the 4.2. So I really calibrated it. Again, I've been trying to recalibrate a lot of these and quantify it better. So I'm not just giving everybody 4s and 5s. So 3.5 speed for me. I do think if I'm to guess a 40, and this is dangerous, I never really do this because you never know until you, especially because track speed is so different. But if I had to guess, looking at some of his breakaway runs, I think he's going to be right at the low 4.5. So I think he'll be like 4.5 or 4.49. That's well, yeah, somewhere in that area. I think he's going to be around 4.5 something. And yeah, pretty good agility, level 4 power, level 4 change of direction. I think he's an explosive athlete. All right, so let's jump down to Jonathan Taylor from Wisconsin, Doak Walker winner, first team AP All-American, all the good accolades. And he comes from a power scheme. Unlike what you'll see, because we know a lot of people run inside zone. I've talked about it in the NFL. But what you'll see is no matter what, whether it's under center or not, a lot of people run inside zone. It's like they don't want to coach offensive linemen anymore, but that's just what it is. Georgia ran some inside zone with Swift, but they did some other stuff too that was more pro stuff. But Jonathan Taylor, of course, pro style offense, power schemes, all that good stuff. Huge veteran. We're talking about 926 rushing attempts, by far the highest out of any in the group. So right now, you start off, you're talking about a lot of mileage, but he has that good power. That's what we like. But the thing about Taylor, of course, is that he has a good burst too. I don't think it's great. It's not swift, but it's good burst. It doesn't take him a lot to explode once he gets the ball, and he's only 219 pounds, but he's built pretty, he's a big dude in the lower body. So some people might expect like he'll be slow, but he really does burst well. So I think a little bit of James Conner when I think of him. But average acceleration. I don't think he hits top speed well. I think he hits max speed like towards the end. He really has to be downhill, and so his speed is very built up to me. I like his vision, but he's really more of a gap runner. Like, this is where the ball's going, and he goes. I think he feels the natural grooves a little bit, but for the most part, I think he's just a downhill through the gap guy. Short area quickness is average for his size, especially. I don't think there's a whole lot of starting and stopping in his agility. But balance and control, I think is very good. I think it wasn't as great as I thought it would be as far as his balance. But it's still pretty good, especially if you take him high like any other of these power backs. You take him high, he's going to be able to keep his center of gravity and drive his legs and do all that. But yeah, if you wrap up around the waist or the legs, or not even wrap up, but if you attack there, or with the momentum, he honestly didn't have as much balance as I thought he would, but still pretty good. And I like his pass blocking. He's a strong dude. He's willing to get in there. He just needs better technique, so I think he's pretty good. As a receiving threat, I think he's above average. I don't think his hands are made of stone, but I also don't think they're great. I also don't think he's some great route runner. He can do the average things that you ask him to. And honestly, with the ball in his hands after a pass, I don't think he's like some super threat. He's a power back. That's just kind of what he is. And so I say he's very good on the first level. He's great on the second level, average on the third level. Again, high rushing attempts, but he has a better yards per attempt than Swift. Swift has, 6.6 yards per attempt, and Taylor has 6.7. And so typically when you got a lot more rushing attempts and he has probably over double the rushing attempts, usually that average goes down. But obviously, Taylor has been one of the more prolific backs in the NCAA. And so he actually is very efficient with his carries. But then you see 18 career fumbles. Now, again, he's got a lot more carries and 42 receptions. So not a whole lot of receptions, as I spoke to earlier. Not a huge receiving threat. Now, he'll be interesting because I've seen some people projecting a high 40, and I've seen that he joined the track team. And so, honestly, from what I saw on the field, I just don't see it. But some people surprise you, especially because they train before they go take the 40. And track speed is different than game speed, but I don't know. Watching him in comparison to other people's speed on his breakaway runs, I gave him a level 3. I see him at like a 4.55. That's where I see him when I see him on tape. But again, we'll see. Guys can transform, and that's honestly, I mentioned that, but that's what makes running back one of the other hardest things is that running backs can transform who they are in the offseason. And one of the reasons I don't watch previous year tape, because players can be so different. I mean, Le'Veon Bell's the poster child for that. So 3.5 agility, level 4 power, and level 3.5 change of direction. All right, so moving to I always want to say Dobkins. J.K. Dobbins from Ohio State, who for some reason is bigger than I thought he was. I mean, he's darn near similar to Jonathan Taylor, but he just looks so much smaller. Definitely more compact and well put together. But for whatever reason, he just looks a lot smaller. But he's actually not. So I like Dobbins. Oh, my God. He's really, really, really explosive. I think most of everything he's done has been zone. And so that'll be interesting to see him in more of a pro-style scheme and if he can read that as well. But I think he's a complete back. You're talking about excellent burst, accelerates immediately. I love his vision in zone. Again, we'll have to see what it is and other stuff. Great short area quickness. And really what you want to see in like supreme athletes is the ability to start and stop. So some people could get the ball and have great momentum, great burst, and hit it. But once they stop their momentum, they're kind of done. Some guys, as we know, great athletes, they can stop and then start up real fast again and accelerate immediately. And that's what you got in Dobbins. And that's why I don't think you definitely don't see it with Taylor, and you don't see it as well with Swift. But great balance and body control through contact. This is a guy that will definitely keep his legs running too. He's very feisty. He's a runner, and he's not scared of anything. I like him as a pass blocker. Very, very similar to Swift. They really get after it. Good technique for the college level. Uses their leverage, and they know what they're doing. And that's one of the other hardest parts, is that even when you teach running backs what to do, it's just knowing when to do it. It's just, it becomes hard because you got to be able to read the same way the offensive line is reading. Great receiving threat. I think he runs great routes. I think he does more than the normal routes. I think he really understands. For a running back, I don't think he's a receiver, but I think he understands how to run and leverage routes pretty well. And I like his natural hands, and I think he's got good ball skills. So I love him as a receiving threat. So I say he was great on the first level. Very good on the second level. I don't think he's as good, as creative as Swift is. I think Dobbins is definitely more pick the lane and hit it. He's not really, he can make people miss, of course, but I don't think the same way as Swift he's as creative. But then I say he's great on the third level because he can make those guys miss, but his speed is definitely the best out of the three. And so I don't think he quite has that second gear. Some people say he's a 4.3 guy. I don't have him labeled as that, but we'll see. I definitely think he has more breakaway speed than other guys, but I don't know if he has like a second gear. So as far as him, 71 receptions, which is the same as Swift, but 8.5 yards per attempt. Now, here's the difference. He has almost 300 more carries than Swift, less carries than Taylor, but his average is way higher than both of them. So 8.5 yards per attempt. And this isn't, passing. This isn't, bubble screens and all. This is running the ball. You have to be able to run it. And so picking up those yards aren't fake. Like, those are his yards. And so 8.5 yards per attempt by far is higher than anybody on the list. And only 5 career fumbles, so not bad at all. So I gave him a level 4 speed, level 4.5 agility, level 4 power, and level 4.5 change of direction. And I really like Dobbins. So the last person I'll throw in, I usually throw in somebody off the top group that I like. Of course, I like Dillon a lot from Boston College. Don't sleep on him. But I really like I believe that's how you pronounce it, Benjamin from Arizona State, 5'10", 210. I think he's good. I mean, the thing with him is that he does not have the same power that the top guys got. And again, better athletes are going to have better or be better prospects. And so the better athletes are a blend of all the intangibles. So you got the guys with speed, you got the guys with power, then you got the top athletes that have blends of both. And so with Benjamin, I don't think he's like super little where he has no power, but that's the part of his game that's not great. But I really like everything else, man. He is super explosive. Reminds me of Dobbins in that way as far as his athletic ability in that sense. But I love his balance. That's the thing that really separates it for me. His balance is excellent. It's darn near elite. And it's hard to understand balance, especially when you're not up close. Even me watching these games, you really have to wait for specific moments to understand a player's balance. But you just watch them. Some guys don't go down, and it's not like, oh, he's trucking everybody, he won't go down. I mean, they just don't go down because they have great center of gravity. They got great body control. And so they might go out of bounds or they might fall, but they know how to catch themselves. And even if somebody's got momentum on them and hit them, they know how to, they might be phased, but they don't fall down. They stay balanced and stay going. And so Benjamin, I think, just has 3-level balance. I think he's great. 3-level balance and speed. The other guy, Zach Moss, who I wouldn't say is my next favorite, but he has excellent balance as well. He just has more of a first-level balance, which is big. He reminds me a lot of Kareem Hunt, a bigger version of Kareem Hunt, where Kareem Hunt just was not impressive in anything else but his balance. I was like, he could catch too, but I was like, man, this dude, is a little bit of a pinball. He really keeps his balance through contact and through the trash. And we see how well he's been able to translate that. And so I think Moss reminds me a little bit of that, but Moss doesn't have all the other athleticism that Benjamin does. So Benjamin, great balance and all the other stuff. So I really like him. All right, so that's enough for the prospects. Or I guess I say if I ranked them, it'd be Dobbins first, Swift second, Taylor third. And then, of course, Benjamin's my guy to look out for. And I don't mind McFarland either from Maryland. He's super explosive, just without the power. So that's mine. Now let's go to the real grade. We're looking at the Pittsburgh Steelers today. We are going to be looking at the draft from 2017. So once again, my philosophy is you cannot grade a player or a draft until 3 years after the fact. that gives you enough time to actually dive in and see what happens to the roster instead of like night one or round one. Hey, let's grade it right now. Like, you have no idea what that player is going to do because they have not been on the field yet. But anyway, so let's look at 2017 Pittsburgh Steelers. There's 8 picks. Let's go down. So first round, we got TJ Watt out of Wisconsin. Still with the team, all pro. We got second round, Juju Smith-Schuster, who is a Pro Bowler type receiver. Third round, Cameron Sutton, still with the team, not a starter. James Conner, third round, still with the team, a Pro Bowler. Joshua Dobbs is no longer with the team, kind of bouncing around the league. Brian Allen, no longer with the team, kind of bouncing around the league. Colin Holba, long snapper, don't see a lot of those. He's bouncing around the league. And Keon Adams, out of the league, didn't have a career. So, out of the 8, you got 4, half of them that are still with the team, and half that are not. The half that are not with the team are all lower round picks. And fourth round pick, I talk about premium there. That's kind of the line of being a premium. But it's a quarterback, so you understand it's kind of a crapshoot. Now, the 4 that are still with the team, out of the 4, 3 are starters, 3 are Pro Bowl levels, and you could argue 2 are all pro level type players. So that's huge. Now, they're first and second and third round picks, but it doesn't matter. That's not a guarantee. One of your picks is not a starter, but he's still with the team. He's a third round pick. You had 2 third round picks, so that's not a huge miss for me. First of all, keeping half your draft class is already a good job. Half of them, and then most of them not only being starters, being Pro Bowlers, that's a great job as well. And you had some flyers. Cam Sutton was a flyer because of his injury. Hasn't exactly been anything great. James Conner, I don't think he was a flyer because he was medically cleared with his whole cancer situation. I guess just some people didn't think he would be as complete of a back as he ended up being. And once again, same thing with Le'Veon Bell, same team. You change your body a little bit, and you could do a lot different things at running back. So that was a little bit of a flyer. And TJ Watt was the biggest flyer. TJ Watt had only been in that position for like less than 2 years. This was a guy that was a converted offensive player. And so while he had a lot of raw talent, this is you being able to say, we believe we're going to have the things in place to make him reach that level. And he reached it pretty quick, so I give him credit. I thought it would take a little more time. So this was a thing of flyers, but when you're talking about flyers, well, not exactly flyers, but when you're reaching a little bit, this is the idea of, we know that we got to support and give the resources to make this work. They're not just going to walk in and be good players. And the Steelers, to their credit, did a good job. And then Juju is just a great find. I mean, I thought Juju was one of my top receivers that year. And we'll talk about receivers another day. But, yeah, they're at that point where some people don't know when they're worth taking. But Juju has definitely become a big-time player for them. So, looking at this, half the players, again, they all were lower round picks that aren't with the team. I got to get this an A. You got an all-pro player that's already huge. Add on 2 Pro Bowlers. This is an A. A for me. So that's it. Go to the comment section. Let me know what you think about the real grade. Let me know what you think about the running back prospects. Thumbs up, subscribe, share around, get conversation started. And thank you for listening.